Good morning from day 2 of our trip here at Key West. Sorry we didn't film an end to last night. We were
It was never ending.
a little drunk. Our fifth stop was Rick's, and then we went.
No,
Rick's.
Dirty Harry's.
Dirty Harry's.
Next door
Rick's
to
was
Rick's.
first, next door to Rick's, and drank there. And then people found out it was our honeymoon and kept buying us drinks. And then we went to Sloppy Joe's, and then
we
Fat
ended up,
Tuesdays.
And Lou got an Olaf tattoo.
I got an Olaf temporary tattoo, but some jackass hit it, and now it looks like Olaf melted on my arm. So maybe
Should
I'll
we show?
maybe later.
Do you want to see my tattoo?
Ashley also got one. She got a 4-leaf clover for St. Patrick's Day for our wedding. But we just had lunch, breakfast here at Ocean Grill, and right outside there are these parrots.
Hey, birdie.
Just hanging out. These two on the right were going at it a little earlier. And
Making new beautiful babies.
this one on the left was trying to get in,
On the action.
but didn't happen.
Hi.
So, good lunch. I think now we're going to go to Hemingway House and do a little sightseeing. Try to work off the alcohol from yesterday and see the sights of Key West. He's ready. Let's go.
Pauline had an unusual hobby. She collected chandeliers as souvenirs of her travels around the world. And she brought this one back from a trip to Italy. She also collected decorative ceramic tiles, and her tile collection is literally all over the house and grounds here. Over the fireplace, we have a large portrait of Hemingway, and he's looking just as he did while he was living here with Pauline, a handsome and athletic man in his 30s. Well, here on this wall, we've got him surrounded by all 4 of his wives. Ernest Miller Hemingway was born on July 21st, 1899, in the town of Oak Park, Illinois. He was the second of 6 children born to Grace and Clarence Hemingway. He got his first job right out of high school. His uncle in Kansas City got him a job as a cub reporter for the Kansas City Star. Well, less than a year later, America became involved in World War I. Hemingway wanted to see some action, but when he tried joining the Army, they turned him down. He was partially blind in one eye from an old boxing injury. But the American Red Cross accepted him, and they sent him to Italy. He served a brief but very distinguished tour of duty. A few years later, he was back home and working for the Toronto Star when he met his first wife. Her name was Elizabeth Hadley Richardson, and they met at a writer's party in Chicago. They had a whirlwind romance, and 3 months after the wedding, Ernest and Hadley sailed off to Paris. They had a son there, whom they named John. Well, when John grew up, he had 2 beautiful and famous daughters. You might know them as Margot and Marielle Hemingway, the actresses. The Hemingways soon became part of a group of expatriates known as the Lost Generation in Paris. Ernest became friends with guys like F. Scott Fitzgerald and Pablo Picasso. Well, Hadley found herself a friend as well. She was a wealthy lady from Piggin, Arkansas, and her name was Pauline Pfeiffer. She was in Paris working as the fashion editor for the Paris edition of Vogue magazine. Well, Hadley made a big mistake when she introduced her friend to her husband. They wound up becoming a lot more than friends, and by 1927, Hadley had gotten fed up with this, and she divorced Ernest. Well, just 1 week later, he and Pauline were married, and 2 years after that, they left Paris and arrived here in Key West. Ernest and Pauline raised 2 boys in this house, and their oldest is Patrick. Patrick used to lead African safaris for a living, but he's long since retired from that, and he now lives somewhere around Bozeman, Montana. His younger brother Gregory became a doctor, and as for the cat he's holding, that was Snow White. She was the first 6-toed cat to live here, but she went on to become the founding mother of over half the cats on the grounds today. In the 9 years Hemingway spent here, he wrote most of his life's work and became famous as a writer. Life was going pretty well for him until one afternoon in 1936. He had just gotten back from a fishing trip and was cooling down in his favorite bar when a blonde in a little black dress came walking in. She was Martha Gellhorn. Now, in all fairness, she was a very talented freelance journalist here on vacation. She thought she'd just meet Ernest Hemingway. Well, there was an immediate attraction between them, and it soon developed into a scandalous love affair. By the end of 1939, his marriage to Pauline ended, and about 2 weeks after the divorce, he and Martha were married, and they moved to Cuba. But it turned out to be a very short and stormy marriage, lasting only 5 years. Hemingway had not only married his own competition, but meanwhile, World War II was spreading through Europe. In 1945, he was sent to London to cover the Blitz, and that's where he ran into Mary Welsh. Mary was a reporter from Time magazine, but she also liked to travel, hunt, and fish. Their marriage lasted for over 16 years. But Mary became his widow on the morning of July 2nd, 1961, when at the age of 61 and suffering from bipolar disorder, Hemingway ended his life with a shotgun blast at their home in Sun Valley, Idaho, and he was laid to rest in a nearby cemetery. At a time when most residents on this island simply had outhouses in their backyards, the Tip family had all the modern fixtures in there, and they were supplied water by a small cistern located right over the room on the roof. You'll notice the heavy beams that run along the ceiling, and we have Pauline to thank for the French Art Deco tiles on the floor. Well, now we're going to leave this tiny little room and go right on to the Patrick and Gregory's old room. Made from his friend Marlene and Dietrich, and they were just friends. Now, Hemingway liked a lot of sports, but his favorite was fishing. He grew up fishing the waters of Illinois and Michigan. When he came to the Keys, he discovered larger fish, like that 1,200-pound marlin he's standing next to in those photos in the corner. Over the years, he became very familiar with those. Now, we also have a few photos from the time he spent in Italy during World War I. Hemingway was an ambulance driver in the American Red Cross, and at the time, he was only 18 years old. He had been stationed in Italy for only a month, when one night, a trench mortar exploded just a few feet away from him. In fact, he described the experience as being like a furnace door opening up. There was a roar and a big flash of light and heat, and then everything went black. When he woke up, he was lying in a hospital bed in Milan, and his legs were covered with bandages. The trench mortar had blown almost 200 pieces of shrapnel into his legs. But while he was unconscious, somehow he managed to carry a wounded Italian soldier to safety, and he became a decorated war hero. He'd have to spend almost 6 months in that hospital bed, and even though his doctors were able to pull most of the shrapnel out of his legs, they couldn't get it all. The remaining shrapnel gave him problems for the rest of his life, and because of it, he was more comfortable doing most of his writing while standing up. But while he was recovering, he fell for one of his nurses, an American lady named Agnes von Kurowski. He had every intention of marrying Nurse Agnes, but she threw him over for an Italian officer. Well, about 10 years later, he got even with her. His romance with Nurse Agnes became the basis of the story, A Farewell to Arms. And if you've ever read that story, you might recall that in the end, the nurse dies. In this room, Pauline had a French crystal chandelier installed, but she also had one of those put in the bathroom. Earlier, I had mentioned that back in the 1800s, Key West had been a very wealthy town. Well, while the Hemingways were here during the Great Depression, it is one of the poorest towns in the country, and back then, you just couldn't find a king-size bed down here. Ernest and Pauline simply bought 2 twin beds and had the legs fastened together. Well, if I get you a little more around the bed, we got people stranded out in the hall. There you go. Now, they found this headboard on one of their vacations to Spain. It was actually a garden gate from a 16th century monastery. Pauline bought the entire gate, and you'll still find the hinges and latch on that headboard. Now here at the foot of the bed, we've got one of Hemingway's antique Spanish perfume stools. He liked to collect these, and he used them as travel stools and as deck chairs aboard his boat to Pilar. Those large handles, which were really meant for women to grip during labor, also came in very handy for carrying them around by. also an art collector, and he liked abstract and primitive art. The colorful ceramic cat perched in the corner there is a replica of an acquisition he made while he was living in Paris in the 1920s. As I mentioned, he became friends with Pablo Picasso, and he traded him a case of hand grenades for the original. Now, we're only about halfway through the tour at this point. The rest of it is outside, so we're going out onto the balcony. But you're welcome to come back through the house anytime you like. The piece of residential property on the island. This all covers 1 square acre. The smaller building across the courtyard from us had originally been a carriage house with a hayloft overhead. Well, Pauline soon had the hayloft converted into a writing studio for Ernest. She'd later turn the bottom half of the building into some guest cottages. The Hemingways were always entertaining friends here. Ernest liked to start his day by 6 a.m. every morning, and he liked to get to work as quickly as possible. He'd come out here onto the balcony, and then he could walk right over to his studio by way of an iron catwalk. They had it built so it ran just like a bridge from here to the front door of the studio, and they had a gate installed in the railing. He had a policy of writing 700 words or until lunch, whichever came first. After counting his words, he'd walk to his boat and spend the afternoon fishing. He'd come in around sundown, but after dinner he'd be off to any one of his favorite bars here. He'd spend the rest of the evening knocking back a few, but he'd also listen to all the stories around him, because he'd often get ideas for his own stories that way. This island was first discovered and named back in 1513 by Ponce de Leon. He sailed past here looking for the Fountain of Youth, and as he went by the western end of the island, he saw the beach was covered with human bones. For that reason, he named the island Cayo Hueso, or Bone Island in Spanish. A few hundred years later, that name became Key West, but to this day, the bones on the beach remains a mystery. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that at some point, Ernest and Pauline had a second bathroom built out of part of their bedroom. We like to call this part here the room with a view. Whenever Hemingway was sitting there, if any of his friends happened to walk past, he'd yell and wave down to them. Okay, I'd like to introduce Gary Grant, his brother, Rudolph Valentino, and that's their uncle, Duke Ellington over there. Hi, Duke. Then we've got Lucille Ball, her sister, Grace Kelly. This is, I believe that is Dr. Lawrence Harvey, and Pilar, named after Hemingway's boat. Now there are currently 53 cats on the grounds. Hemingway could have anywhere between 50 to 70 cats here, but that's because he didn't believe in spaying or neutering his. He also liked to take in stray dogs. People would often ask him why he had so many cats. His usual answer was to grin and shrug and to say, one cat leads to another. Most cats have 5 toes on the front paws and 4 on the back, but over half the cats here have at least 1 extra toe all the way around. And on the front paws, those extra toes are fully functional thumbs. For centuries, polydactyl cats were prized as luck charms by sailors and were known as gypsy cats. As lucky ship's cats, they went to seaport towns around the world. Well, Hemingway liked to collect them. He was not only a very superstitious man, he was also extremely accident-prone, and he figured he'd need all the good luck he could get. He got a lot of fun out of naming his cats after his famous friends. He also gave them funny names, like Dillinger, Friendless, and Fur House. In the 9 years he lived here, Hemingway wrote 70% of his life's work in that studio. This includes To Have and Have Not, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Death in the Afternoon, The Snows of Kilimanjaro, The Green Hills of Africa, The Short Happy Life of Francis Macomber, Islands in the Stream, most of the Nick Adams series, a play called The Fifth Column, and countless magazine and newspaper articles. Now you're welcome to go up and take a look in if you like. And if you do climb these stairs, I'll meet you at the other end, right across from the pool.
Backyard goals right here, guys. This pool. Incredible. Just an overview of the side yard. Like she said, they do wedding receptions here. That would have been incredible. Side of the house. Couldn't imagine living here.